All right, we are live. My wife is in the background listening to me make the introduction spiel. What's going on, boys? What's going on? All right, we are live. And there's the echo. That means that it works. So I'm going to kill that tab. So today we have Stephen James joining me for a rum tasting. I have a rum poured here in the glass, ready to go. And we have Stephen in the back room. So we have a few people in the chat here. So let me just bring this up, see what's happening. Oh, there we go. All right. Bernali is here. What's going on, girl? Like keeping an eye on Stephen. Who else is here? Oh, we got Chris. What's going on, man? Thanks for popping in. So yeah, we'll hopefully have a few more people popping in, but I'm going to bring in Stephen and we'll just kick off the chat. But before we do that, I'll do a very quick show of this screen right here. Just a huge thank you to my Patreon community. Obviously, people who follow these live streams are usually some of these people, also some other people popping in, and I really appreciate you guys watching and also for people supporting. If you do not see yourself on this list, if you consider being on it, that would be amazing. But obviously there's no forcing of hands or anything like that. So with that out of the way, let's bring in the legend himself.
How are you doing?
There he is. Stephen James himself in the flesh.
Oh God.
What's happening?
So downhill from here.
Chilling. Like
yeah. Just watching the news at the minute with the just been an earthquake off the coast of Jamaica.
Oh shit! Just now?
Yeah, I think it said it's about 72 miles off. About it's relatively shallow, about 6 miles deep, but 7.7 magnitude. So I think there's quite a lot of places on a tsunami alert at the moment. So
fuck, that's crazy.
That's pretty horrific for everyone involved, isn't it?
All right.
Yeah. So I hope everyone's okay.
I love that place.
Yeah.
Well, my wife and I went last year. Did you go as well?
No, we did. Yeah, we did Barbados last year, but we're in Jamaica in April.
Okay.
So
what part of Jamaica did you go to?
We're going to be in I think it's near Runway Bay. Is it just on the north of the island?
Okay.
It's kind of, I don't want to say that it's a holiday built around visiting rum distilleries, but we're kind of equidistant from Hampden, Long Pond, and Worthy Park. So
yeah,
it's beautifully positioned to visit those, and obviously to get away to Hampden as well, which is good. Sorry, to Appleton, which should be good fun.
Yeah, Appleton was the one that we managed to visit. I was hoping for Hampden, but it was a little bit further from where we were. We were in Negril, so all the way over on the coast. On the coast, was that south or west? I think west.
Yeah, west coast.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a little bit far, but yeah, we managed to get to Appleton, which was amazing. Cool. I love that place. So much good stuff. We did the whole, and there they have the. I'm sure all the distilleries have maybe a similar setup, but yeah, Appleton was great because they had you get to taste all the molasses and you get to press some cane and all that kind of fun stuff.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like good fun.
Yeah, not too bad. All right, cool. So we have a tasting happening today,
yes.
And let's see. What was it again? This one here. Let's see. So these are samples that I got from you. Let's see if I can show it to the camera. Duncan Taylor, and you have the real bottle, which is way more fun to look at than this little sample bottle. But so St. Lucia, 2002.
Yep.
So we'll be tasting this. We'll be sharing some notes, and obviously today is not a blind tasting. Just for if anyone is kind of dropping in, there's no blind tasting. This is known. But yeah, what made you choose this one for today?
I think there've been. I think St. Lucia distillers have potentially been a little bit slow on the uptake of the real kind of the geeky aspect. So we get a lot of their standard releases. They brought out the new Admiral Rodney range, which had 3 in the range, but it was hinted at there was a Smuggler's Cove release, which is a single steel release of Chairman's Reserve in 2018 for Martin Kate at Smuggler's Cove in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of the first one that came through, but we've been waiting for them to release some interesting stuff. They've got a beautiful collection. They've got 4 stills there. They've got a beautiful collection of stills. They produce a really wide range of marks. The stills have a really decent kind of character and signature all of their own. So we've been waiting for releases to come from that distillery that kind of essentially showcase what they can do. And it's just before Christmas, a few started to appear. A few more have started to appear, and there's probably somewhere in a region of about 10 or 11 kind of like master selection bottles now. So the Whiskey Exchange have one. You've got one for Royal Mile Whiskies. Old Brothers, Salon de Rum. There's one there's a couple over in the States. There's one over in Holland. So there are quite a few. There's the new 2005 Chairman's Reserve, which a couple of them are down at 46%, but quite a few are in at cask strength, which is good. So I thought it'd be nice to revisit something that showcases one of the stills there, which is good.
Cool. So what is exactly this is I can't read the ABV here. 52.
Well, yeah, the bottle label itself is distilled at St. Lucia Distillers in September 2002, bottled in September 2013. Cask number 5, pot still, one of 242 bottles, 52.6%.
Sweet.
So it's a full 11 years age. So there's a lot of info on the bottle when it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of info. I mean, the key things are date and still. So we know that St. Lucia Distillers have got 3 pot stills and 1 twin column still, coffee column. Now the column still I think was commissioned in, I think it was 1985. You've got the John Doe 1, which is a twin retort pot still, 1,500 litre capacity, commissioned in 1998. John Doe 2, which is a slightly larger still, 6,000 litre capacity, commissioned in 2004.
Oh, wow.
That's twin retort as well. And the Vendome, which has a column attached, so it's not a twin retort pot still. It has I think it must be a rectification column attached. That's 2,000 litre capacity. That was commissioned in 2003. So essentially, with the information on the bottle and knowing about the stills at the distillery, 2002 pot still could only really be the John Doe 1 because Vendome wasn't commissioned until 2003 and John Doe 2 in 2004. So it points to the John Doe 1, which is quite a small pot still. And it really does have a very unique signature. That and the Vendome still are probably from that distillery my 2 favourite stills from them. They produce some really kind of, if you know, everyone's probably gathered by now, and I'm a big fan of kind of the medicinal notes within a rum. And this definitely
we've heard about that.
Yeah, just once or twice. But this one has it by the bucketful. I mean, this one itself, it's great, but I think it becomes a little bit maybe not as much one-dimensional. But I think it never really reaches the highs of some of the medicinal kind of pot still rums that I've tried in the past. But it's still, 100% definitely worth picking up a bottle if anyone can find it.
Yeah, it's very, for me, it's very acetone forward on the nose. Like it's quite a singular note actually, like on the nose. It takes a while for you to unpick that or unsmell that to be able to smell other things. Like it has a very acetone heavy note there that kind of just, well, if you're new to rum and just smell this, it's like, well, is this actual rum or is this some kind of gasoline for my lawnmower? Or is this a cleaning product of some description? I think it's I think this one's maybe
this dials down the medicinal from the Vendome. Still, the Vendome I think is quite a lot more of medicinal character, but I think the Vendome carries a few more interesting nuances to it. The other thing to remember with this as well is this is entirely continental age, so this will have seen no tropical age, whereas all of the new releases are fully tropically matured, so they'll obviously have far more development in a 8 to 13 year period than this would ever get within an 11-year period in the cooler climate. So I think
that's really interesting, actually, because if you think about what the tropical aging will do, it will give it a lot more depth and barrel impact. Like it's I didn't think about it until you just said that. It's like that actually makes a lot of sense in terms of the nose, because it's a lot more. You can almost smell that it's just been sitting in a much colder climate. It's an unexpected aroma profile. For at least now knowing that if this is 11 years old, it's like, oh wow, okay, there's a definite disconnect there, but like it makes a lot of sense now that you're saying it.
I mean, I think you have to with this one, I found particularly that you have to fight to get any of the true kind of traditional barrel notes. I think you would have to you'd have to. I mean, I sat with it for a while, and some of my latter tasting notes were based upon sitting with a couple of glasses of this that's been sat in the glass for a few hours, and just to try and bring out some of those barrel notes. And maybe it's a little bit of water kind of seems to bring out something a little bit more akin to maybe a pepper and a vanilla, some kind of traditional barrel notes, and especially when it like you're doing now, when it warms up a little bit, kind of releases a bit more. But for me, it is a heavy style of rum, a very medicinal style. I mean, my tasting notes essentially are heavy medicinal pot still, a little diesel, creosote, sticking blast as an antiseptic cream. It sounds horrific to put a set of notes together, but a bit of menthol, kind of mint in there, rubber, full of acetone. You have to fight to get a savoury vanilla and maybe something resembling kind of like almost like a sickly sweet grilled pineapple kind of aroma sitting in the back end. Yeah, but it's definitely quite. I think I always seem to think that rums like this would maybe appeal to people that love Islay whiskey. I think you get kind of like a medicinal smoke. Maybe it's a sweet smoke as well with because I find my sweet spot for whiskey is kind of sat in young bottles of Kalila and Lechig from Indies, where they sit at cask strength, but you get that kind of sweet and salty citrus, and you also get a bit of powdered sugar in there as well, which I think is it does definitely make an appearance, but it's you do have to fight for it.
Yeah, I think at a certain angle you could easily mistake some of this for peat, or like at least a campfire sensation. Like it's almost like I'll get it a lot more on my right nostril, and this is just the way I smell. Like I'll get a lot more kind of almost like a smoke sensation over on this side, and probably without spending time with it, I could easily mistake it for a peated Scotch. I think the depth of it, like you can feel the volume of what's underneath that though, and that's where I think you could get that sensation of this being a rum, because a peated Scotch, like not necessarily, maybe except for a few Bunnahabens that I've had, like wouldn't have that kind of depth and volume behind that peat. Like it would just be a very sharp peat sensation that kind of peaks out, whereas this here is obvious that there's a lot more volume underneath. I mean, it's got a real character to it, and I've found I've tried a few John Doors and a few Vendomes. I know that a few people that are distillers have said that the signatures that you get, these medicinal signatures, are flaws within the still, and I think they potentially, from the purity of a distilling point of view, maybe they are a few elements that you would maybe choose to take out in your cuts, but
these for me, I think, John Doe, particularly the Vendome, of which this is not, but particularly the Vendome, I go crazy for stuff like that. It's don't get me wrong, I love my Jamaicans. I love the highest of Jamaicans, but not as crazy as some people for the really ridiculous ones. But I love the balance, the barrel influence of cask strength, Barbadian rums, Foursquare, Mount Gay, the St. Nicholas Abbey stuff. I noticed that when we visited St. Nicholas Abbey, their 8-year-old, using their own estate sugarcane harvest made from their own syrup, that has a slight medicinal quality to it. So obviously that was purchased as well. It's anything that kind of has that signature for me, that almost slightly medicinal nose, and I just go crazy for it.
It's fucking delicious. All right, we've got a few people joining in here. So Jimmy, Jazz in the house. What's going on, dude? Good to see you in here. Whiskey Quest is here, hanging out. We're drinking some rum. There's no whiskey today, but should be still quite interesting. So we have some tasting notes coming up, but we'll see what happens. Chris is joining in on the convo. What's going on, guys? See, Mrs. James is also active here in the chat. I think she enjoys watching you, Steve.
It's her only method of communication with me. She refuses to speak to me face to face. It's solely via YouTube messages.
That's what happens after a long time together.
Definitely.
All right, Greg is popping in as well. What's happening, dude? All right, he's just popping in here. So I have a live stream coming up over on Greg's channel in a few weeks. Hopefully, we're meant to have it last year, but unfortunately we had to cancel and postpone it. So yeah, hopefully this will happen.
Cool.
In a few weeks. But yeah, no, this is absolutely amazing. All right, who do we have here? Yvonne Let. Say
Barbados rum from what? He knows damn well what.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, like I could definitely see that this will need some time to warm up, because I literally just poured this a few minutes because I've been running around like a crazy person all day, and I got home from work late, so I didn't have time. Normally I'll pour it like half an hour earlier, just let it sit, go and sniff it and taste it. The stream. But today it was literally just as I brought you back into the green room there, I'd literally just poured it. So this is still pretty fresh.
Yeah.
And I can
this one does take time.
feel it opening up, but it's going to take maybe an hour for this to be mature enough to really judge it. So we'll see. I'll add a little bit of water as well and see what happens.
Yeah.
Like I open it up a little bit, keep warming it up, and I put the thingy down here so everyone who joins can see what we're sipping on right now. That's pretty fancy, right?
No, you're just showing off. It's just pulling wheelies, no, man.
I know.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of having a neon under your car.
God.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, while this sits and warms up for a bit, we obviously, the eagle-eyed Ivar noticed that I'm currently wearing the Save Barbados rum hoodie.
Guardians of Rum. There you go.
Yeah, because it's essentially we're it's I think the time has gone for sitting on the fence with regards to where you sit in relation to GIs for Jamaica, Barbados, and I think there's been a lot of talk. 3 of the 4 distilleries on the island agree on the Barbados GI proposals, which essentially they're common sense. They keep the bulk of the value on the island. They utilise things that are native to the island. Essentially, it allows full expression of the island. The one distillery, obviously, that is that's pointing in the opposite direction for everyone else and wanting to derail things is currently West Indies Rum Distillery. and probably more in the way of their new owners, Maison Ferrand. I think it just comes down to how much you believe in the products of the island, how much you believe that they need to bring value to the island. And I think it comes down to essentially, there are two different arguments. I mean, you've got native yeast versus non-native yeast, native bacteria versus non-native bacteria, Barbados water used in the ferment and also for dilution, as opposed to non-Barbados water. When you're talking about Barbados water, the island is coral limestone, so it's beautifully pure water.
Right.
Aged in Barbados versus aged abroad. Mm-hmm. Granted, you will be able to age in different locations, but only the Barbados age should be stated on the cask. On the label. The West Indies kind of believe in that they only want a mandatory 1 year maturation in Barbados for it to become GI compliant as a Barbados rum, and then gets moved elsewhere, which is obviously is complete nonsense. You then get aged in oak casks versus aged in vats. I mean, you look at the amount of species of oak or the amount of variants of oak that you have available to you. And they're claiming woods like mulberry, chestnut, acacia, mango was even stated at one point. Right. Bottled in Barbados versus bottled abroad. No sugar added versus a 20 gram per litre limit added to it. I think it's amazing that it's really easy to kind of retrospectively dig up things that kind of try to prove your point. And it's great that you're able to say, well, people used to burn sugar and molasses on the estate and add it for caramel, but that had some residual sugar, which added some sweetness. And by some amazing reverse engineered calculation, we probably equate that to being about 20 grams per litre, which is what the regulations state, which of course is just a complete fallacy. It's nonsense. So there's a lot of fence sitting, and I think it's got pretty serious now. Battle lines have kind of been drawn. I wouldn't even bother joining Ministry of Rum Forum on Facebook if you're not already a member, because that is a real shit show at the minute. It's just gone absolutely mental. But I know which side I'm on, and I know that history will view me favourably in the future. It's just nonsense. Yeah, I mean, but Jamaica already has a GI. Yet all of these things that are apparently so important specifically to Barbados as an island, and specifically so key to the rum making of Barbados, also for some reason are also being proposed as ideas that are also definitely key to Jamaican rum making, which is obviously a complete nonsense, because making Barbados rum and making Jamaican rum, they're two completely different entities. Yet it's been stated that certain items that are key to Barbados rum somehow apply to Jamaican rum. It's it's like getting a starter motor for a BMW, and for some reason that fits a Peugeot 306. It doesn't. Things are specific. There are things that are kind of that add character, that are the essence of the islands, and it's not pleasant at the minute, but I'm on the right side.
You're on the good side. So for anyone watching who wants to get one of those awesome pieces of merch, where can they go?
Well, Gail Seal has handily put the image online. So if I'll in the comments to the video, I will provide a link to a place where people can go and order their own T-shirt. I think you can put it on all sorts of things. So yeah, I'll put the link down there.
All right, and it's essentially Save Barbados from themselves, right?
Well, it's Save Barbados from the colonialist invaders. Yeah. Again, I think that's the that's the key.
Yeah, let's unrepeat the business.
Yeah, it's like Jurassic Park. They're perfectly fine without our interference. They'll flourish if we just leave them alone to do what's right.
Yeah. So it's what you're saying is that this is Jurassic Park 2 in the making. It's like, well, didn't you learn anything the first time?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it cannot be wrangled.
Yeah. I mean, it's really easy to kind of to say that it's foreign ownership that's caused this problem. But Mount Gay is owned by Remy Cointreau, French company.
Yeah.
Now, they recently commissioned one of the original Anais coffee stills, and we saw it, and it's an absolutely magnificent thing. But that's investment in the island, investment in the history of rum making in Barbados. They're not trying to take shortcuts and add sugar. You know, yeah, we get a little bit annoyed that they don't put ages on their blends. And you know, when you used to speak to Alan Smith, he'd just say, you know, I don't want to hear about pot and column, and I don't want to hear about age, which, you know, is annoying as a you know, for what we seem to be getting called at the moment, which is rum geeks. It's kind of annoying that you can't take that real dive into the deep water with them to talk about it. But you know, it's a beautiful place. They're doing things right, and they're investing, and they're not wanting to take shortcuts.
Yeah.
So, you know, majority rules for me.
Yeah. I guess sometimes, I mean, as long as they're doing things right, I mean, like you could argue that like they want to try and keep some kind of secrecy around their stuff, but like as long as like on the outside of that, there's still transparency enough to see that they're doing things the right way.
I mean, to say that I think the terrible thing is that Maison Ferrand came out in an interview and essentially saying that they're trying to stop a standardized Barbados rum. Now, Mount Gay doesn't taste like Foursquare, doesn't taste like St. Nicholas Abbey. None of them taste like Cockspur, which is predominantly multi-column. You know, there's one set of regulations for Scotch whisky, yet you have all of the different regions producing different styles. Yeah. There's one set of regulations that oversees Jamaican rum. Yeah, you know instantly a Hampden from a Worthy Park. You can even pick out the differences between Hampdens and Long Ponds, and they're very similar. You know, you can pick out an Appleton, you can pick out Money Musk in there. You know, you can pick out all of these things that are utilising the exact same criteria to produce a completely different end result. So it's not stifling, it's not limiting, it's not standardising. It's enabling you to work within a series of rules and boundaries to enable your creativity to shine through. But then the other side of the coin is nobody's stopping you from using chestnut wood, mango wood, bringing in different yeast strains, utilizing different bacteria, diluting it with, as I think I said before, diluting it with dish water, pond water. You can do what you want with it. What you can't do is you can't utilize the designation of a GI compliant Barbados rum on the label. But no one's stopping you doing what you want to do. So, you know, it's a difficult one, but it won't end. It'll
it's money and politics. I mean, it's
a little bit like Brexit. It'll tear families apart.
Oh gosh, let's not go there. Let's go back to Duncan Taylor and St. Lucia.
Yeah, let's definitely not go there.
You said the bad word, the B word.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
All right, so Duncan Taylor, St. Lucia, 2002, and we went through some notes on the aromas, and I think right now I add a little bit of water to it, and I'm starting to get a little bit more some of the ester notes, like some tropical fruits. I'm getting some burnt pineapple, some overripe bananas. I'm getting some like fried plantains, even. Like there's a bunch of different things happening now after adding a little bit water, and also like just warming it up and just kind of nurturing it a little bit. So I think it will probably open up even more, but I think you could kind of tell that with time it will just kind of open up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about the fruit in there, I think the common theme is it's almost something that's charred, or where the sugars have kind of caramelized a little bit. So whether it be the plantain or whether it be the pineapple, it has that almost, you know, the way you see almost view it as like if you were to crack the top of a creme brulee, that kind of caramelized element to it. Yeah. I think that's quite key with this one.
Yeah, fully agree. There's a little bit of almost like a charring, but like just before it burns, like it's caramelized to a degree where there's a little bit of char note starting to peek through that caramel note. It's that level of darkness.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. Like the initial kind of nosing of it, it was, I mean, for me it's interesting, but I would also say, like, for someone just kind of coming from the outside in, like, it could be potentially quite off-putting. But now, like, after it's opened up, I could see, like, well, it's still interesting, but it's no longer off-putting. It's just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, for me, for me, it's actually, I mean, like, I'm far away from being as experienced in rum as you, obviously, right here. So for me, this is still kind of untreaded territory. I guess to some degree, I've tried more and more stuff over the time, but obviously whiskey is kind of my first passion. So rum is something I'm still kind of growing and building out my knowledge. But I think with that said, there's definitely something to be said about this style of rum, which I think is probably a little bit underappreciated. And I also think that not a lot of people are exposed to this kind of rum, because this is not supermarket rum. It's not sweet. No. It's not easy to drink. It's not straightforward and oh, let me try some rum, and then you get this. It's like, whoa, I don't like rum. It's not that.
No, I mean, this is not the kind of thing.
An enthusiast kind of like connoisseur level of where you can start to appreciate this style of things. Or as you said, like, it's the Isla sensation in the rum world, where you have something that's quite unique, and you kind of have to have a personality that leans towards something like this.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing that there are quite a few of them that you know. I mean, I like drinking this, but I think for a lot of people that it would be seen as maybe a reference from to a style or a signature from a certain still that enables you to then pick these things up if they're used in, say, the 1931 blends that they used to release before the standard release came in. I mean, there is I think it's the Whiskey Exchange blend of the Chairman's Reserve releases, Master's Selection. And they have they've released a 50-50 blend of John Doe 1 and the Vendome pot still. So obviously for me, as soon as I saw that was, you know, that was all the boxes ticked for me. And the Royal Mile Whiskies release is 100% Vendome. So that was, you know, that double ticked the boxes for me on that one. Yeah, so I think it's you do pick it up in a blend. I mean, initially, I hark back to, you know, I didn't have the further advancement in the product development due to, you know, kind of personal circumstances. But initially, there's a rum on the market now, Diables, from a blend that's been brought about by Clio Farming up in Manchester. It's a beautiful blend. It's Guyana, Barbados, Jamaica, Worthy Park, Foursquare, and the coffee still over in Guyana, the wooden coffee still, which is the Enmore, I think. It's a beautiful blend, but the fun for me was, in the initial consultation with Clio, what it was making me do was look at what I would find interesting in a blend. So some of the initial blends that I came up with had Barbados in there, obviously, had Jamaica, whether that be Worthy Park or Hampden. But I came up with a blend that I now still make for myself, which was Dawley's 5-year-old at 50% of the blend. Worthy Park's Rum Bar Gold, which takes up 25%, and then 25% of a young European-aged John Doe 1 pot still rum. So I make my own small blend of that, which obviously was never going to happen because they don't sell now since they were purchased. They don't sell to brokers, so you're never going to see these kind of St. Lucia's again unless any of the casks are currently in storage in Liverpool. So it's kind of unique. You'll never see that. You'll never see this again unless they currently have some more there.
Right. Dude, that would have been awesome. The Rum Diaries blog blend.
Mm.
Boom.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there'd only be me that buys it. It's just got some crazy crap in there. But no, I think it's, they deserve recognition. Barbados has a lot of recognition. Jamaica has a lot of recognition. Guyana, everyone goes nuts for Guyana. You've got the French West Indies and the stuff that they produce. Even now, I'm starting getting into Reunion Island stuff, which is Savannah, which obviously you tried in a blind tasting, the hair. But you've also got Rivière du Mat, which kind of produce. They used to be just producers of mass supermarket blends over in France. But what they produce now is some of their releases. They're almost a blend of molasses and cane juice. And they have this medicinal signature, which obviously it's kind of like I just seek it out. It's like Chandler seeking out Janice in the. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, the Friends reference here.
Yeah, it calls to me in the night. but it's that kind of it's that signature that is my kind of. It's almost a guilty pleasure because, as I say, for a lot of distillers, that signature is seen as a flaw within the distillate. And if you were potentially assessing this spirit from, obviously I've noticed that you do your WSET level 2 kind of assessment of the spirit, to where you look for flaws in the spirit. You actually judge it. You don't bring personal opinion into it. You judge it from an academic standpoint, which then enables you to have a solid basis.
Possible. Yeah.
But you judge it from an academic standpoint, which then allows you to layer that with your own personal experience, which I think gives an assessment of a product far greater credibility, greater credence, and greater weight within the marketplace. If you're able to judge a spirit, you're not judging it as whether you like it. That's secondary. You're judging the quality of the distillate as an initial base assessment. Then you judge whether you like it. Now, there are a lot of us. We know we can spot which is a bad distillate that we dislike. We can see a bad distillate that we like. We can see flaws, but we enjoy those flaws. We can see perfection, and we find it boring. It's that kind of, it's the way that you address things. They're two separate things, which is why I wanted to do the level 2 in spirits. Unfortunately, obviously with reasons that everyone will know about, with my father being in hospital, that's kind of that's fallen by the wayside, because I just don't have enough time to devote the headspace to it at the moment. Yeah. But it's something that I definitely want to pick up on, because I think that will enable me to grow from a writing standpoint. Yeah.
No, I think it's an interesting approach, and as much as I think I definitely struggle with it, and if people listen to the podcast, they'll know, because I kind of talk about it as I go, as I learn about things. Like, subjectivity is never going to be 100%. Like, it's basically impossible to be 100% subjective. Like, you're always going to have some kind of influence that will impact some of that assessment. But obviously, as you learn to separate yourself and your preferences, and try to just look at what's in front of you scientifically, I think it's interesting. As you say, it's like, you can see something that's flawed, but you actually quite enjoy it. It's like, I was enjoying the Kraken the other night with some Coke in it. It was decent. It was exactly what I wanted, something non-offensive, something just sweet. And I was like, well, that was perfect for the moment. But like, does that mean I like the Kraken? Like, absolutely not. It's shit. But it fit the bucket. Like, it was like a square peg in a square hole. It's like, that's it. That's what I needed.
Yeah, well, it is. It's going to Red's Barbecue or any number of places and getting a really good burger versus grabbing a quick Mackie D's. Sometimes, an awful burger is what you need.
Yeah, all serves a purpose. Yeah.
A drain cleaner, if nothing else. So
we have the first buyer here for the Rum Diaries blog blend. So I think someone here is also ready to back it up. So I think it's a must. We need to figure out how to move this forward. And also there's that. Not like Janice.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh God. There was an interesting thing here as well. So obviously the Super Bowl is coming up, and my team got beaten out by the 49ers.
Right.
I'm a Packers fan, so it was a very sad weekend
Right.
when the 49ers took down the Packers. But I will say, for that reason, I would probably go for the Niners for the Super Bowl. Although I do like the Chiefs as well, so I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl. Although Packers would have been a good team in there. Anyway,
I've not watched or kind of taken an interest in American football since the days of Joe Montana and Dan Marino.
That's a few years back.
It is, yeah, probably in excess of 30.
Oh gosh! All right, we have a Chiefs fan in here. It's going to be a good fight, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to catch it. So it's my birthday next Friday, and I'll be in Brussels. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Work or pleasure?
What's that?
Work or pleasure? Brussels.
Oh, work. So yeah, some friends of mine from New York, they decided to randomly go to Brussels because they've never been.
Right.
And it just happened to be my birthday. It's like, oh, fuck it, we'll go to Brussels. We'll hang out. So
awesome.
Yeah, it should be good fun.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
Big 4-0 for this old guy.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said you don't look a day over 21.
I appreciate that. I thank you, sir. You're a kind gentleman and a scholar.
And it's a very small screen that I'm looking at.
It's the size of a stamp. I was like, yeah, this guy can't be that old.
Not a chance.
Aye. Cheers, man. It's going to be good times. We'll see. Yeah, I've never been to Brussels. I've been to Bruges in Belgium, but I've never been to Brussels. So, no, I haven't been to Bruges, actually. I've been to Ghent. We might take a train ride to Bruges because I think it's just a couple of hours from Brussels.
Right.
We'll see. See what happens.
Yeah, I think the only places in Belgium I've done are obviously the easy one, which is a ferry across to Ostend.
Okay.
And then a train ride to Bruges, which was a lovely day out. But yeah, Ostend is a strange place. Very strange place. It's got a really nice kind of, and I'll never find it again. I'll never see where it is on a street map. But I went with some friends a good few years back, and a few of them were ill at the start of the trip. And towards the end of the trip, 2 of them came back off the ropes, and a few of the others that were up for it early doors decided not to be up for it on the last night. So it was the 3 of us. Fortunately, we'd all been friends with one of the guys since we were 5 years old, and the other one since we were 7. So we wandered the streets looking for somewhere for a light drink, found these old stone steps into a jazz bar, went into this really packed little venue, managed to find a table. So I was a smoker at the time, so they were buying me you couldn't move really. So you were having to order drinks. You're having to order cigarettes from the machine. And at the time it was all you could get were Lucky Strike. And it was a really packed little jazz club, really kind of what you imagine a jazz club to be. And at one point, this is not going to be a horrible story. At one point, I walked into the toilet and there was this kind of really trolleyed-looking old fella in there, struggling to stand up against the urinal. Looked like a real mess. And he was in there, and I'd obviously, washed my hands, walked out, and I thought, I dread to think what's going to happen to him later. He then proceeds to stumble out of the toilet, pick the muted trumpet that he had off the table, walk on stage, and just play some unbelievable stuff. So, clearly, that's the key to being a great musician. You need to drink a lot and have zero personal hygiene.
Yeah, just rock and roll, man. Rock and roll.
Yeah, definitely.
The jazz version. Oh my gosh. Oh. Yeah, no, this is really opening up now.
Yeah, it probably does start to develop, doesn't it? But are you getting any real notes of proper barrel influence yet.
I'm getting the vanilla now, which is starting to come through. There's also a little bit of it's a little yeasty also,
Right.
almost like a white bread kind of yeastiness.
Right.
Almost like a white bread dough, that kind of thing.
It really takes a while, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I'm not, the yeastiness I think is probably more fermentation than aging, but I think the vanilla is kind of a hint of that. I think some of that charring we were talking about earlier in terms of caramelization, I think that kind of level of caramelization could kind of link into some kind of aging or charring of barrels or recharring of barrels or something like that. But yeah, very little.
This is obviously, as I was saying, John Doe 1. The Smuggler's Cove Chairman's Reserve release from 2018. That is also entirely John Doe 1. I think that's up at about 58, 59%. And I'm not sure of comparison for age, but they're like two different rums. You've got you have a little bit of that signature in there, but it's so much more well-rounded, so much more development in there. Whilst there's consistency from nose to palate, there's real development of the spirit as it sits in the glass, and it just grows and starts to become an entirely just a bigger, more enjoyable proposition as it sits there. So whilst it does retains some consistency, it really does build upon that as well. It's far superior rum to this one.
All right, so you and I talked about another sample, so I'm going to pour this now. So I'll show it in a bit, and I'll put it on the screen as well so people can see. So this is, I'll let you talk about it because I can probably not. I'll probably bastardize the name, so you can pronounce it for me.
It's the CDI, Compagnie des Indes. It's the Boulet de Canon, which is Jamaican rum blend, 5 years old, matured. Here we go. It's a blend of Jamaican rums aged during 10 months. So they are 5 years old originally, then 10 months in 2 ex-Islay whiskey casks. So on paper, it should have the perfect blend of the Islay character with Jamaican rum, which obviously is a big enough rum to stand up to it. I said it's kind of an experiment that doesn't work very often. I've tried this one. There is an ultimatum bottle that's matured for a short period of time in an ex-Bowmore cask. That's not too bad. There's the Tale of Two Barrels. I think it's the barrel series that I think they bottle quite a lot of bourbons. They did a Tale of Two Islands, which was highest Hamden rum in a ex-Islay barrel. That, from a molasses rum point of view, has been the most successful execution of it. The definitely the most successful execution I've tried has been a Habitation Saint Etienne Agricole, which was matured for an additional 6 months in Islay barrels. And I think it's something about that character of the sugarcane distillate from the juice. It stands up to the peat a lot more, kind of cuts through the peat. So I think the experiments are not, whilst they're good fun, they're not always successful. This one, personally, obviously, I don't want to taint your viewpoint of it. So if you'd rather me not, but I don't think this is successful.
Okay.
I think I wanted this to be more successful than it is. I think you get quite a lot of the fruit from the Jamaican on the nose once you fight through the peat. But you get the rubber, you get the acetone, you get a bit of the fruit on the nose, but it's almost dialed down fruit. It's not it's not truly bright kind of acidic fruit. It's more kind of a fruitcake fruit.
It's quite warm. It's almost like stewed apples or something.
Yeah. But on the palate, it's just a case of forget about it. It's all whiskey.
Well, thanks for sharing this wonderful dram, Stephen.
Hey, it's one of the battles that, do you know what? When I can't make my mind up whether I want whiskey or rum, I go for this. Because my whiskey of choice would be Kalila or Lachig or anything like that, to be brutally honest. Maybe a Bowmore.
Greg is with us. French spirits and Isla casks.
One was great though. Yeah, the HSE Isla finish. Yeah, that's the one we're talking about. The annoyance with that is it only comes in a 500ml bottle. I think it is the most successful marrying of those two things. Well, marrying without marrying things. It's definitely the most successful execution. I think there was rumoured at one point that Mhoba over in South Africa potentially looking at maybe putting some of their Hyester stuff in if they could get hold of a peated whiskey barrel over there. That I think would work well. But I think the it's very nice idea, and I do like both spirits, or both styles. I like Jamaican. I like Isla whiskey. I think for me this one, it's too non-committal and it doesn't work. But as an easygoing drink, that's it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it doesn't taste at all like it smells. It's quite disconnected.
Yeah. Essentially, it tastes
quite, it smells quite lively and fruity and sweet, but it doesn't taste like any of that.
No.
Like it tastes like smoky and dry and woody, kind of like wood chips, kind of. It's quite strange actually.
It doesn't do either spirit well. It's not Jamaican enough, and it's not the Isla cask is too influential on the palate. So I don't think this has worked.
The ABV 46%.
Yeah, it's quite low.
Yeah, I feel like it tastes like 46%, but it smells like it could be more. So again, like one of the things that it kind of, the way I talk about it is like a broken journey. So you have this journey from like you look at something, you smell something, taste something, and then the finish and kind of like look at that whole thing. Yeah. And it's almost like it goes like that, and then like something happens, and like okay, it doesn't really link up.
Yeah.
So yeah, the journey is kind of disconnected in a sense, which sometimes works. Like to be honest, like I've had things that are it smells amazing, tastes amazing, but doesn't taste anything like it smells, and that's completely fine because it's still like manages to pull through like in terms of quality. But yeah, I think on this part, I think the nose actually is to me is pretty successful. But yeah, the palate is falls a little bit thin. There's almost no finish. Like it's all just like a smoke blast. Yeah, and then it kind of just disappears a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's probably, if you were to it's the equivalent of trying to catch a train in the UK on a Sunday. The journey between the journey between the two main destinations is perfectly speedy and pleasant, but then the last leg of your journey is a replacement coach service. And that is the palette of this one.
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
It doesn't execute the palette well at all.
Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously, it's regardless of whether or not I'm influenced by what you said in the beginning. Now I'm thinking about it, but I think still there's definitely certain parts of the palate that just doesn't feel successful. But yeah, the nose, I quite enjoy the nose of this, to be honest.
It is a little bit a bit creosote kind of wood on the finish, which I find perfectly pleasant. But yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, and like you say, it's not the all-encompassing experience that I wanted when I purchased the bottle. Well, got to try these things.
Mm. Yeah, it's weird. And I think, yeah, you said it's not Jamaican enough, and I think for me it's almost like it's not rum enough. Like it's almost like it's not one and it's not the other. And I think as an experiment, like it hasn't managed to pull good things from both and put it together in a way that makes sense as a final product. It feels like, well, it is what it says on the tin, right? It's rum with this cask, and it's like, okay, I could both kind of smell and taste that. Yeah. But then when you think about, is it actually nice? It's like, not really.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's almost. If you'd have told me that this was a whiskey finished in a rum cask,
yeah,
I would believe you.
Mm-hmm.
If it was kind of relatively, not necessarily too young, but a relatively young, lightly peated whiskey finished in a I don't know, say more fruity Jamaican rather than funky, so an Appleton barrel maybe, or something with a decent amount of column in there. Most, I mean, maybe I should do a side to side. I have the English whiskey finished in the rum cask, and it's got that kind of, it's got the same Christmas cake, stewed apple kind of fruit that I found in the finish of that whiskey.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, and again, like broken down into two different things. Like on the nose, it's more a rum, and on the palate, it's more whiskey.
Yeah,
it's not like on the nose it's both, and on the palate it's both. It's one and the other. So I think that for me is like, that's where the plot kind of breaks a little bit.
Yeah, it's
oily as fuck though.
It is quite a quite a viscous viscous proposition, but again, these guys, they don't mess about with it. They don't add sugar or anything to it. So what's in the glass is the spirit. Yeah,
I mean, and that itself is an accomplishment, because like creating like really oily spirits is always like, it always amazes me, and it's something I'm not always 100% sure how they accomplish, because sometimes it's a low proof, sometimes it's a high proof. So
yeah, I think it's it's where you take your cuts with regards to some of the things that come off a pot still, and also I think it's chill filtration has a large part to play. Now you're noticing you can get whiskies down to potentially, I don't know, maybe down to 46% that are still chill filtered. Sorry, that are still non-chill filtered. Yet you don't get any clouding of the spirit in the bottle. You don't get any flocculation with regards to small bits of the fatty acids and the esters present in there. Yet I think it's even lightly light ester level rums still have kind of higher kind of fatty acids and ester levels than whiskies, which means that the whiskies can be non-chill filtered to a lower ABV. I mean, you look at certain things all the time, like the Appleton Joy blend, which is 25 years old? That's not cask strength. That's probably, I think that's about, I don't know, maybe 43, 46%. That's non-chill filtered. And only the other day, someone had posted a photograph with a load of kind of floaters in the bottle, saying, is this a flawed spirit? What's going on with the bottle? And it's a case of, what you're seeing are the fatty acids, like the long chain esters that are present within there. You give that bottle a shake, and they all kind of go out of suspension and kind of just become part of that liquid again. And it's all based on, storage temperature. So the warmer it is, the less you will see them. But it all adds to the mouthfeel. So if you're not chill filtering, then you're fine. I mean, this Duncan Taylor, the St. Lucian, that's no chill filtration, no added coolant. And in the bottom of the bottle, I can actually see cask sediment. So it's not gone through a huge amount of charcoal filtration either. So nothing's kind of, you've not stripped anything out of it. And it is a weird one where I think it's an oily rum. The Duncan Taylor, the St. Lucia, but it's not a viscous rum.
Yeah, I'm back to this now. I just picked it up, gave it a whirl, and Werther's Original is just blasting out of the glass right now. It's pretty phenomenal. It's actually really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, it does get a caramel note to it.
It's butterscotchy. Yeah, it's almost like borderlining like an American whiskey, like nose on it right now with that kind of very heavy butterscotch.
Yeah.
You can still get the molasses and stuff in the background. You can still get that. I mean, it's still clearly a rum on the nose, but it's just amazing on how, like, this is like an hour since I poured this, or an hour and 10 minutes or whatever. And like in the beginning, all I could smell was some kind of gasoline or carpet cleaner. And now it's just butterscotch. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, it does have quite a lot of development, but I think for me, running through it, I've got it's quite a heated entry for the spirit initially. Maybe a bit of light sweetness. I'd gone for kind of like a wildflower, floral kind of honey to it. Plenty of, I think the barrel shows itself with the kind of a cutting dryness rather than a truly, influential barrel. It picks up the dryness, brings plenty of menthol and mint, creosote, petrol, almond brittle, that kind of caramelized sugar again, licorice, so your molasses is present. Bit of heading towards the finish. If it doesn't sound too weird, concentrate on the vapors that are ending up at the back of your throat, kind of almost a olives and salty feta cheese kind of.
Yeah, it is a bit savory actually there on the end there.
Yeah, I think I'd gone with I mentioned I'd gone with if it's possible for a rum to morph into a molasses-based offering from Guadeloupe on the mid palate, then this would do it. That kind of typical Damaso rum where they have small parcels of rum that they released where they were distilling from molasses in their column rather than distilling from sugarcane juice. And it's that kind of the effect that this has, like the 1980 Damaso and the 95, I think. They're beautiful things. I think there was a 98 as well. But then he kind of strangely develops a little bit of pickle vinegar and ginger puree is what I ended up with.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a vinegar note as well, like kind of coming through. Less and less though. Again, it's just changed, which is always fascinating. Something I'm spending more time thinking about is the kind of evolution of things just in the glass as it gets air and as you kind of like release some of the ethanols by like swirling, which I guess you shouldn't really do too much, but I do it anyway just because.
Yeah, it's force of habit.
It feels right. Yeah, it just feels right. And also like when it comes to all the rules and shit that people say, it's like, oh, you should never do that or that. And it's like, well, you should do all of it so that you can see the difference. I mean, that's the whole point of like, if you want to learn something, like you should do what it is that people say you should do, but you should also do the opposite.
Yeah.
so you understand why you shouldn't do. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. Like you should do everything. There's no right or wrong. Whatever makes it taste best for you is ultimately the way you should drink it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, from an enjoyment perspective, definitely. I think obviously slight rules with regards to assessing the spirit. Like I would never put ice in something that I was wanting to assess.
Right.
But I think, if you enjoy drinking your whiskey, rum, anything with a block of ice in it, fill your boots. You've
Go
bought
for
it.
it. Yeah.
You can do it. You can make ice lollies with it, make jelly with it. You've bought it. You can do what you want. I mean, that's the beauty with this. You can tell it's well used because obviously that's not the original cork in there.
Yeah.
That's the cork from an old Admiral Rodney bottle. So keeping it St. Lucian still. But so the bottle's kind of, it's at a decent level. And the beauty for me is that I've got no problem polishing this one off because I opened it as soon as I bought it, found out that I think that it was worth buying, and picked up another bottle immediately so that I know that I have the ability to then drink this in 5-6 years' time when there's nothing like this available anymore.
Yeah, I want to do that, but I hold myself back because I think I only have one bottle in my cabinet that is a double, and that's it. And I want to try and stick with that because if I have the mentality, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, like people can do whatever they want, but for me, it's like if I have doubles of things that I really like, it kind of holds me back for buying things that I could potentially like in the future, because your palate changes. Like you might not actually like that from 6 years from now, because like you can get sick of that category or that profile, or just get bored with it, or you find something that you like even more, and then you're just like, and you just stock up. I used to do that, and now I just like, nah, I'll drink it, I'll enjoy it, and then I'll buy something else that I hopefully also will enjoy, or I'll try to limit what I buy altogether. I know that's difficult. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of like self-discipline to not just buy all the stuff I want.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I used to buy single bottles, but then, I'm majorly, knackered it up with some of the availability of the Velia Demerara's when you could pick them up for £80 a bottle.
Yeah.
And it was a case of like, no, I'm just going to buy the one because what if it's not good? And it's like, well, of course it's good.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck in a situation where I have, one of each of the, the SVW from Diamond, the modified GS, and the ULR from iFlute. I've got the Diamond and Versailles. I've got the Diamond and Port Morant. So I have single bottles of those things that I'm slowly working my way through. I mean, it pains me as well when you see certain of those bottles that, they're going on auction for £900 a bottle. And you just, part of me is just thinking, God, if only I'd not opened that bottle. But then part of me is thinking, I'm really enjoying that rum. And knowing the low price with which I purchased that rum and seeing the price with which someone else is purchasing that rum, I'm just thinking, well, I'm clearly a lucky guy. I was on at the ground floor and I'm enjoying that bottle because I've not just spent £100 shy of £1,000 on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can never see myself. I won't say never, but I can't see myself paying.
See, your missus is still watching.
Paying upwards of £700-800 for a bottle. It would have to be something really special.
I mean, that's just insane. I mean, that's outrageous. I mean, I do not buy overpriced or kind of hyped stuff.
Yeah.
I will say though, and I don't know if I should say it on a recorded live stream, but I think what I will be doing is to go and look at auctions, because I think a lot of the stuff that you can just go and pick up, I feel like, I mean, I could try most of that stuff. Either I can get a sample or I could try it at a bar. So I'm looking at just buying much fewer bottles, but trying to pick them up on auction. And by saying that, obviously I'm going to have to pay a little bit more, but I think it's just a matter of like self-discipline again, like trying to like set yourself a budget of, okay, I'm going to try and get at least 2 really good Armagnacs and 2 really good cognacs, maybe get like some old stuff, or maybe some cask strength, like quite unique, and just kind of like set yourself like a small target area of what it is that you want, and not stress out about trying to get it quick, but trying to get the right stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's my new strategy. I think I've had multiple different strategies over the course of the past 10 years, where it's like it started with just buy everything to like, oh, buy all the stuff over here, and then like, oh no, I don't want anything, I just want a few bottles, and then buy everything again. Like, like you just kind of go in and out. But like, yeah, I think now the new strategy is like try to spend less on buying a bunch of bottles and just buy like a few bottles over the course of a year and just kind of savor those. Because I still have I have less than 100 bottles now, but I still have quite a few. So yeah, I've been trimming it down quite aggressively over the past year or so.
Yeah, I mean, I think I still approach it with the rum Pokemon outlook. You know, gotta catch them all. I think that's the. Now I'm forever browsing. I'm not forever browsing. I do work. I'm constantly refreshing the spirits websites in Italy and France just to see when 20 Potenzario drops, the new 4-square release, because that is. I mean, obviously, if there are any rum fans listening, that's shocking stuff, and I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. It tastes like feet. But I will need a couple of bottles of that at least. It's next level nonsense that you wouldn't even want to drink. So don't worry about it.
Just put that out there. That was a well timed comment, I'll say.
Yeah, and now I know that she's still paying attention. I'm going to shut up.
She's still there, lurking in the corner.
Yeah, it's like Monsters Inc., isn't it? Always watching.
Always watching. Awesome, cool, man. Yeah, these are really good. I definitely enjoy the St. Lucia here. I think that's an absolute beautiful thing. I think to begin with, I was skeptical. But I think now that I've seen it grow and become a beautiful butterfly, I think I'm definitely a fan. It's up there. Yeah, I think the other one, however you pronounce that, I'll put it on the screen just so it's there. So this one that's circulating down there, Boule de Cannon number 5. Yeah. It's always like Mamba number 5. But
I think Mamba number 5 was eminently more enjoyable than this one.
Probably yes. Yes. Although not very enjoyable after being on repeat for like a few hours.
Well, I'm a big fan of the cricket, and obviously that used to soundtrack the Channel 4 coverage.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I had to listen to it. See, it genuinely does develop. I've just poured a new drop of the St. Lucia in this glass, and the first thing that hits me is kind of like foam strawberry sweets, kind of like those sickly sweet foam strawberry sweets. Takes a new drop of it in the glass and kind of the initial aroma that pops out. But yeah.
Hold on, I'll pour something in an empty glass here and see what happens. See if I can level with you.
You're like, nah, he's talking nonsense.
Yeah, I'm not getting that.
Or maybe it's just me, because obviously this bottle was full at the start of the evening. So
potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No artificial strawberry sensation. But it strangely feels different than the first time I poured it for the first time.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of development in there. We're never quite. There's a lot of development. It's very interesting rum. A rum that does deserve to get a wider audience. This particular bottle, the something from the John Doe one, that's never going to turn anyone that's relatively new to the spirit onto rum or St. Lucian rum. But it's something that, I don't know, it took me a while to appreciate Pete, and now I think he's a great bloke. But it's something that took me a while to appreciate these quite definitive, noticeable signatures from certain stills. I used to find them distracting, but now I find them almost kind of warm and comforting, because the note of that still. I mean, still for me, I would say it's either the John Doe one, which is this but tropically matured, or the Vendome still from St. Lucia. That produces some really magical stuff. And obviously the Whiskey Exchange blend is a blend of both tropical matured. So I would say, I mean, I can't buy any more because of the 1 bottle per person limit. So unless I start creating numerous accounts with, I don't even have enough payment methods to do that. But it's 1 bottle per person. It's still available. It's about 69 quid. Cask strength, so it's sitting up at around 50. It's either 56 or 59%. It's worth 70 quid of anyone's money.
All right, we can talk after this. I have a few payment methods. I have a French trainer as well here. Greg is willing to educate me. It's good. It will be a sad day for the French watching me trying to pronounce all this stuff. So I'm not sure if if that needs to happen, but I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go, Greg. All right, cool, man. I think this was it. I think that was the tasting for today. This was very interesting, and obviously, as we mentioned, like I think the St. Lucia was the winner of the day,
definitely,
for both of us. But yeah, the other thing was interesting. I think it's fun when you know a little bit, you can kind of half blind start to think about these things and the assessment stuff. So yeah, I hope you'll find your way into WSET at some point this year or next year.
Yeah,
it takes a little bit of time. Like my course was supposed to be here in so I'm taking the level 3, and it was supposed to be February, but I didn't have time to study, so I pushed it to June, because they say you should probably spend about 60 hours at least studying ahead of the 1 week course period. So yeah, it just, and I have a new crazy demanding job. So yeah, I'm not quite ready. Just you want to definitely give yourself some study time.
Yeah, I mean, what's the study time like for the level 2? Is that kind of a shorter lead in, because it's a 2-day course, isn't it? The level 2.
I think the level 2 is 2.5 days.
Right.
And then I'll show you the study book here for level 3. The thickness of it, it's quite significant. So yeah. And let's see if I can. So level 2 is probably about that much.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, it's quite. I mean, a lot of it is repetitive, but it's just like the level of detail and the stuff that you need to know.
Yeah.
It's just a lot more in depth. Plus, the level 3 is also, there's a blind tasting part of the exam.
God.
So you have to detect a couple of spirits. I think it's 2 different spirits that you have to blind taste. You have to describe them and then assess them, and say what it is. Like basically similar to like the sommelier kind of course. Not at the same level, but still like the same approach, where you have to kind of assess it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that doesn't exist in level 2. You'll still do all the tasting as part of the course and stuff, which is my favorite part personally, because I'm horrible at remembering all this stuff, which you're brilliant at. So I'm sure you'll do great.
I read a lot, and that's all I can say. I have a long commute.
Yeah, that's good. I convinced my wife when we first met that I couldn't read, and and it's not that I actually can't, but I just don't enjoy reading at all. So I get most information from from video and audio. Reading is like, I don't know. I just get bored really quick.
Yeah, it can get that way. I mean, I did A-level French, which I thought was going to be conversational. But when you get something that's maybe 5 times as thick as your level 3 study notes, and all that it kind of comprises is verb construction, you kind of lose interest pretty rapidly.
All right. All right, cool, man. Stephen, thanks for hanging out, dude.
No, cheers for asking me.
It's been a blast. It's been a while, actually.
It has. It's been a hell of a while.
Yeah. Good to catch up.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think it was pre-Barbados, which was that was November. So yeah, it would have been just after Rumfest.
Yeah.
That we last caught up. But yeah, developments in the GI. So watch this space. There'll be plenty more arguments and bum fights before it's all sorted. That's for sure.
And watch that space right there.
Yeah, I may actually start having to write something now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Awesome. All right. So I think that's it, guys. Thanks for coming in and checking out this tasting of rum. It's been fun to have you guys. Apologies, we haven't checked in with you guys as much. I think I need to work on that. But hey, it's a Tuesday night. What can you expect? All right, cool, guys. Thank you so much for checking in. Peace out, and I'll see you guys next week. Cheers, Stephen.
That's it. Save Barbados rum.
Save Barbados. Guardians of rum. All right. Peace out.
Cheers.